Welcome back to Bannerlord Abridged, where last time we joined the Khuzait faction and started fighting for their glory across many great battles, well, some great and some glitchy. We managed to preserve a bunch of extra territory our faction had taken, so things are looking good, but we did just lose a great battle, only just about, down with the Desert Kingdom, so now we need to get back on our feet. We left things off with me stuck in an enemy prison, but the nice thing about being in prison is you still get paid. Your businesses and your stuff out there is still giving you money, so while we were stuck in here for like a week, and I have to then give a couple of grand in bribes to escape, I made like 10 grand in profits while sitting in prison, so that was actually pretty good, and we escape with no particular consequences. Now though, we just need to escape from enemy territory, which I can do pretty easily because a single party member can move real fast on the map. And we go back to some friendly territory and we reboot. Now that we are in the bourgeoisie, we have functionally unlimited money, so we can just recruit everyone who's available, buy a bunch of mules to get our inventory back, buy a bunch of horses, buy a bunch of food. So it doesn't take that long to bounce back and get back into the game after being defeated. And here I am looking around nearby to see what the action is now, and there is some big action going on actually. There's a massive enemy army marauding around in quote-unquote our territory, the bit of our territory we recently occupied from them. And then a bunch of our armies come along and start this massive field battle, so a decisive engagement, to the extent that field battles are decisive in this game, as I ranted about previously. But yes, this looks pretty good. This video is sponsored by me, and I say play Godless Tactics, the turn-based tactics and strategy game out now on Steam. You explore an exotic future scenario, pick your own path through an open world of strategic choices, and use a teamwork-focused tactical battle system to resolve your fights. It's good, and I know this because I made it myself. Link in the description. In this fight I was mostly out on the flanks because I got involved in some cavalry battling from the beginning and just kind of stayed in this fight. So this is going to be another one where I don't actually see the main battle going on, it's just me and all these cav marauding around. And things were going okay actually. I feel like now I'm really getting the hang of stabbing people with a lance. People were complaining, by the way, about me doing it in first person. I just prefer it like this. I don't know, maybe it's more immersive or something. But yes, I rode backwards and forwards and we seemed to win the cavalry battle. And towards the end I went to check out what was going on with the main fight, but it seems we've kind of won. You can see with the balance bar at the top, the enemy don't have much stuff around. So yeah, pretty sure I missed everything. And then once I was here, I missed my attacks as well, so that didn't contribute very much. And eventually we win. So yes, that was actually a big and decisive battle where we got a really good result. I just didn't see it, annoyingly, so that's good content, eh? But yes, our troops are alive, their troops are dead, so it's time for a counterattack. The army marched out. I thought surely we're going to capture a bit of territory now, and that will be a chance for me to get that territory myself. But on the way, we decided to get a peace treaty with them, unfortunately. So that ends the war, ends any chance of me getting some territory, and actually ends me having anything to do at all. Because now, I'm just a landless vassal and there's no war going on. All I can really do is wander around and wait for something to happen. But I did realise there was something I could do to fill the time, and that is to join the armies while they're not doing anything. The armies still march around even when we're not at war. So I essentially just bought tons of food and sat in the army because the armies run out of food right away, and then I feed the army, and that massively boosts my influence without me having to really do anything. I'm spending money on the food, but I'm making so much cash that we're not actually losing money here. So effectively I'm now playing as the baggage train of the armies, just keeping them alive so that our faction will like me. The other thing we can do during peacetime is to try and improve both our character and our party. For the party we can go and just like auto-resolve some looters to get some experience on our guys and make the troops a bit better. I'm not that interested in making the troops better at this stage because I just expected them to die and be replaced later. But later on I'm going to make more of a big deal about having a good party. Here I'm talking to my faction leader about something or other, and I discovered while clicking around that we can do something else to grind our stats. With most lords you can do this kind of barter thing where you can try and buy things off them. And one of the things it turns out you can buy off them is money, which is a bit confusing, but basically you can trade money. And it's a 1-to-1 exchange ratio as it happens, so this doesn't actually do anything. But because it counts as doing a barter, it levels up your charm stats, so you can actually grind the game a bit by just trading coins with the other lords. That's nice, isn't it? Although I did not go and do that, by the way, because I couldn't be bothered. One thing I did do, though, was try to start an army. There was a stat called leadership, and it says you have to lead armies to improve it, and various useful perks like getting experience for low-level party members are locked behind having leadership skills. So for that purpose, I investigated this create an army thing. You have to spend your influence points to get other lords to come and be in your army. I figured that to get the stats, I technically only need like one other person to be in the army. So I get someone to come and join me, and then we just walked around the Khuzet home territory for a while, and you can see in the bottom left my leadership has been leveling up. I did actually try to fight the parties around here and clear out bandits and stuff. However, we're so slow that there is no chance of ever actually starting an engagement, so nothing came of that. But yes, I trained up my leadership, and I think I did get the perk, where you get a bit of experience on all of your low-level party members each day, but the amount you get is actually negligible, so that was a waste of time in retrospect. Now though, back to the action. Khuzet eventually declared war on the Purple Empire faction, and here's me coming to join the action and seeing we've got a castle already under siege, so I jumped in for this. Nothing too difficult here because we have absolutely overwhelming numbers, but I'm going to help out just sniping away at the archers on the walls like usual. And it was in this battle I realised that while you can't always see them very well, there are often guys standing behind these little shooting holes in the wall. So if you look closely you can pick up a bunch of extra kills, and after I've killed a whole bunch of people here, you might note that our men aren't being cut down, they're all just standing about awkwardly in front of the wall, which normally would get them cut down, but we have actually killed most of the archers, so the attack goes well in the end. I did actually die just as the battle was won, but that doesn't matter. We won overall and we didn't lose many troops, so we move right on with our big force to attack the city that's just down this giant beach. This time there is a substantial set of defenders, so this is a more serious situation. But actually we disengage because a ton of enemy troops show up, and this battle gets started. It's pretty even and a hashtag massive battle. Looks like we're going to have a decisive fight, but you can see in the background they actually have another army after this one, so it's not going to get us anywhere even if we do win. It was a bridge battle, which was unexpected, so that's a bit different. I move up to said bridge. You can see there's a bit of skirmishing going on, and our commander here orders me to charge across the bridge. I've got the horse archers for this fight. And I'm just thinking, I'm probably not going to do that, to be honest. I'll stay on this side of the bridge and not charge across with just the horse archers. So I sat around and the infantry eventually crossed the bridge. I went down into the river below the bridge, where some enemy infantry are making a sneaky move, going down a bank to make another crossing. I'm just going to sit here and snipe away at them. And this actually proved to be quite effective because they didn't really want to come towards me, nor did they really want to go away, so we killed absolutely loads of them just sitting here and shooting. Eventually, once things looked clear, I went across the river myself to see what was going on, and this time perhaps actually see the primary battle. Here it is, the infantry of both sides just grinding away at each other. We've successfully crossed the bridge, but that gives the enemy an advantage because there are tons of reserve troops for both sides in this battle, and the enemy's reserve troops will spawn really close to where the fight is. So practically they're going to have more men in the fight as it goes on, and it's not actually looking that good. You can see with the bar at the top, both sides are kind of being destroyed in equal measure. I feel like my distraction here was doing a little bit to keep the enemy's troops away from the main fight, but eventually I do lose my horse and I decide to get out of there. Looks like our first wave is all dead and now the second wave is coming in. So yes, I just fell back at this point and hung out on the other side of the river. But eventually I did think I should go back in and actually participate in some way. So I set up on the right side of the bridge, standing on some rocks, and just sniped at the fight to use up the rest of my ammo. And still, from the bar at the top you can see the fight's real even. Both sides are killing each other about the same amount. Looks like the enemy's morale isn't quite there though, they're starting to move back a little bit there. The issue is they might move over to where they'll notice me and stop me from sniping them, but I'm out of ammo in this case anyway. So I shoot off all the arrows and then just jump out of there. I went back to our side of the river and eventually found a horse I could steal and got back into the action. By now, like everybody's dead, both sides have completely annihilated each other, so victory or defeat, nothing will come of this because everyone's just going to be straight up dead. But we are just about going to get the victory. The last few enemies are starting to rout now and we've got them surrounded. Let's finish them off. So yes, one Imperial army down, but with another Imperial army right next to this one, this isn't the result we needed. We lost 600 troops, the enemy lost 650, so not ideal. They'll lose more because their wounded troops can't come back, but neither will ours if we immediately lose this army to the other enemy army nearby. Thinking that this will probably happen, I decided to abandon the army and just leave it right away. Looks like our army will be able to escape because it will be a bit faster than the enemy's force. So we're all getting out of there, and this bit of the campaign has come to nothing. But I noticed strangely that my logo seems to be on this castle that was taken recently. Well, well, well. The game didn't be so polite as to tell me, but I actually have been given a castle. He had to make a decision, and I went with yes, and it won, whatever that was. But back to the castle. Here it is. We can now control this castle. It's our land, we get tax income from it, and we can build stuff in it with this menu here. I did poke around for a while, and set up some things to be built. However, in this case, I'm just going to skip over that because not much is going to come of all this due to that other Imperial army being nearby. So they just come over here and besiege the castle right away. We do get a freely spawned set of 100 troops who are inside the castle to help us defend it. I can do this thing where I can sacrifice some of my men to try and get inside and help out with the defense. However, that doesn't seem like it would amount to much. So I decided to just abandon the castle. That's the end of that, gone as soon as I got it. However, that proved to not be the end of my castling career. There's a castle quite nearby, just to the north of that one we just lost. And here's the election for it. This time I didn't miss the election, and it looks like everyone's voting for me. The votes don't matter, as mentioned previously, because our main guy, our faction leader, just overrules and does whatever he wants. But we can at least make it look like picking me is a good idea. I could vote for myself, but because I have so much support, it wouldn't do anything. Thought maybe I should vote for someone else to make them like me or something, since it wouldn't matter that much. Then I thought, let's just skip over this whole thing and not vote at all. And we do win. We have been given the castle with majority support. Not sure if that makes a difference. But there it is. So we are back in this thing. I go to this castle instead and go through the building system a bit more this time, since now I thought we might actually get a chance to make some of the buildings. They all give you various small bonuses, and many of them are upgradable as well. It just sort of builds them in the background, but you can put money into the system to make it build them faster, and I did that since we probably want to get stuff up and running as fast as possible. Then I just sit and wait in the castle. I picked a perk that allows me to buff the castle's growth or something while I'm sitting in it, so I thought that'll be nice. I'll just sit here and make the castle better. However, about 2 seconds later, the castle comes under siege. A giant army appears, and now we're just suddenly trapped inside. So that's the end of that, really. There is one way out, though. You can either sacrifice your troops to escape personally, or you can try and do what I'm doing here. You can talk to the people besieging you. And with enemy lords, you have the option to try and convince them to join your side. And you have to go through this little system where you say lines of dialogue, and there's a chance it will make them more likely to join you, and a chance it will just sort of break off the negotiations. We're pretty lucky. I actually got the first 3 correct. This time I don't have anything I can say that has a decent chance of making him join my side, so we just have to say something. Luckily it doesn't cancel things and I get the chance to say something again. So I go for it, and this time we do get success, meaning we've got 4 dots of betray points, and he's thinking about actually switching sides. That's perfect. However, it turned out there was an additional step. You have to kind of seal the deal with a bribe, really. And it turned out that even if I gave this guy everything that I have, that's not enough to convince him. It almost is, actually. We're pretty close. I'm just not quite rich enough to bribe this guy onto our side. So because of that, this whole plan ultimately fails, and we do have to just defend the castle. I could still try and leave. However, I was actually interested not only to see a siege defense, but to see if some kind of glitch or something would allow me to win anyway. So here I am, up on the wall, looking for something to shoot at. Being a bow-focused character suits this kind of situation quite well. We just need to look for the enemy's main blob and rain arrows on it. Took me a while to find this blob. You can see me here looking around, like, where are these guys who are supposedly attacking? Eventually saw a group over there making their way towards the walls. And I went further along the wall and eventually found the motherlode. Here I was sniping these guys who were walking somewhere. And I thought, where are they walking? They're kind of going to the left. Took a look and oh, there it is. There's a massive blob and there is a way for us to overlook it. And just do this. Now I'm just going to click away the bow and see how many kills we get. They are ramming the gates down there though, so they're not going to stay there forever. That's going to be an issue. The other issue is that I'm actually still using the bow from like the start of the game. Now that I'm rich, I could get a better one, but I just hadn't thought to do it. I kept thinking, oh, one will drop in a battle, I won't bother buying one. So far it hasn't happened. And spoiler, it's not going to happen. For whatever reason, getting good bows just doesn't seem to happen with battle drops. Anyway, as you can see, the enemy did break through the gate, and they go on to fight our little blob defending the interior part. I'm going to use up the last of my arrows shooting at them. Once I was out of arrows, I thought I'll go back up to the top because there are these little arrow barrels where you can refill sometimes. Just needed to try and find one. But while I was looking around the walls, looks like the enemy's ladders have spilled a bunch of troops up here, so that's not going to happen. Time to go down fighting. We spear some guy down, but I think I'm actually being hit from behind me right now. I didn't notice there were a couple of guys behind me, so this fight didn't go very well at all. We somehow took down 2 enemies, so that's something. And that's going to be the end of the fight. The castle is lost once again. We are taken prisoner once again. This stint of being a prisoner didn't last that long actually, because even before they drag us over to the nearby town, we get this bribe offer. It's pretty expensive, but I decide to take it and we are free. And then there's another election. That castle that we lost earlier has been retaken by our faction. Now though, people want to give it to someone else. I have the option to spend a bunch of influence and make the council kind of support me a fair bit more. I thought though this is probably pointless. We won't get it. But we did. Our faction leader decided to be nice to us, even though nobody wanted us to have it. They just gave it to us anyway. So we are back in the game again with this castle again, but of course it's still going to have the same strategic weakness as before. I grabbed all the recruits I could on the way down, and here we are at the castle. And there are some enemies already marauding about, that's a bad sign, and then in pops another enemy army. So this just keeps happening really. The castle is besieged. I could have been a bit more quick on the ball there and ran away, but now we're stuck inside. I thought this time I'll try and do the breakout thing. This means I sacrifice some of the peasants I just hired to get me away from the castle. And there we go, we once again leave the castle to die. Or do we? Some allies appear nearby and the enemy break the siege to go and kill them. Looks like we're in trouble, so I decided to not take part in that, feeling we'll eventually lose. I thought I'll just ignore the whole thing, go and get as many troops as I possibly can, and then come back. So here I am, coming back with as many troops as I can have, and we actually still had the castle. We managed to not lose it while I was away, so that was good. But there are multiple enemy parties right outside the castle, destroying the villages, making it hard for me to even get near the castle. But once we do make our way through this labyrinth of enemies, things are looking good actually. There's a sizable allied force hanging around, taking on that enemy army, and the numbers are on our side. I actually dumped half of my troops in the castle for a bit, not really sure why I couldn't be bothered to bring them to this fight. Guess I didn't want to risk them, and then in I jump. This is just getting silly now. So once again we have another battle that shall be classified as battle where I didn't see what happened. This time though I am looking right at the main fight. It's just really dark, so I can't see anything on the screen I'm recording this over. Something's going on here. I can hear the arrows were being fired at something. Pretty sure we got some kills. I didn't really do anything, I just kind of hung at the back. I think we were on the bridge map again, the same one we saw earlier somehow. The infantry went off and broke through to the other side, pursuing some fleeing enemies, and you can see from the bar things are going pretty well. I stayed on the bridge and fought a bunch of enemy cav who were marauding around here. Luckily they weren't paying me any attention. Perhaps I'm hidden in the dark and I sniped down a whole bunch of them. Eventually, victory is declared, and that battle went really well by the looks of things. So with that, it seems there is some hope for Onika Castle here. The enemy army has been repulsed and we're inside. The issue is that because the countryside has been annihilated, there's no food. Not quite sure what that actually does, but it's probably a bad thing. So I thought we need to somehow defend the villages nearby. The issue is that our personal army isn't that good, so we can't really do it. meaning I do need to actually get some good troops on hand somewhere to defend these castle territories once I get them. What I did in the meantime was go backwards and forwards between a couple of local places to grab more recruits and put them in the castle garrison. Then I went to the west to see what our army actually achieved. All it appeared to have done is take out a couple of enemy villages and then get swarmed by a bunch of enemy troops. I wasn't really interested in that. I wanted to go back and keep grabbing more men for my castle. And also while I was out there, I did get a message saying the castle is under siege. I thought, oh, it'll just be like 60 guys or something. But no, it's 900 guys, a massive army snuck past us at some point. So we are once again in enormous trouble, and I just kind of walked casually past like, yeah, I guess that's just how it's going to be now. We'll walk off and just get some more troops. I abandoned the place once again and continue building my forces. I'm not really sure what I did next, because the next clip I have recorded is like a month later. I'm here walking around with more troops, but now we're at war with someone else. I'm guessing I lost the castle, the war ended with nothing in particular happening in the end, and now we're at war with the Southern Empire, the empire that's right next to Khuzait, so this is a bit more like it. Right here I'm trying to find our main army. Annoyingly, you can only see where it's going, not where it is. So I was hanging out at its target. Eventually it arrived before someone killed me, that was good. And we end up with this big siege going on. We've got tons of troops, but so does the defending garrison. As usual, I was just sort of brazenly standing in front of the wall, sniping away. And as my bow skill has gone up over the episodes, we can do this pretty reliably now. We still have a sucky bow though, it just took 3 headshots to kill that enemy peasant. Very bad stuff. At some point, I do remember to get one, but I don't recall when it is in my gameplay. Seems I haven't got there yet. I found a nice place to set up shop next to the siege tower here, where I could snipe up at the fight. At least this is better than that time we set up and just watched our allies go over ladders and die. With the siege tower, it seems to work a bit better. Plus, because there's kind of a gap where the little parapets are, we can see enemies better and grab some kills for ourselves. I actually went around through an open gate, which I eventually realised was just beside me, and here's the other side of that same fight, now from the inside of the wall. And I can use the last of my ammo to kill a few more enemies. You can see via the balance bar that pretty much we have this, just need to grind them down. Eventually we grab this win, and we grab this city. A nice important enemy location taken down. I think because I'm too much of a loser within the clans of the faction, I'm unlikely to get given a city as a fief. Really, we just have to gun for castles. Luckily enough, the army goes on to challenge a nearby castle. This time I'm using a more pro tactic, that is not being in the army. This means I get to keep my own food, and more importantly, with sieges, once the siege starts, the AI won't have command of my troops. So by waiting outside, and by not checking Twitter to notice when the fight starts, you can join the fight separate to the army, and it's kind of the same thing, but I can command my units. So what I can do is this, I'll tell all of my units to go and sit at the back of the map and not do anything. This is the key measure in my new having an actual personal army that stays alive. You need the troops to stay alive so you can level them up and they're not just trash. And if I can get a good army, then maybe I can hold some territory once they get given it. That's the new official game plan. So they go wait at the back, all of the other guys' troops go and die running at the walls, but I will help out a little bit, and I'm going to play another game of shoot into the darkness and see if you get some kills. I feel like when I was playing I could just about tell that someone was here, but as I'm looking at the footage now I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just sort of shooting at black squares and it seems to be getting me some kills. I'm guessing there's someone in those rooms. There's someone just around the corner here. I could kind of hear someone in there, I guess. There we go, Imperial Archer down. So that helps out our side, I guess. The castle is taken, and at the same time another castle was taken by another army. That other one is down here in a more awkward position. So now there are going to be 2 castle elections. Again, because the elections don't necessarily determine who gets the castle, this is kind of a waste of time. So I wasn't really willing to actually put like my influence into making me get it in this case, which I could do to try and increase my little bar at the bottom, because I just don't know if that bar actually determines in any way who gets it. In this case, the guy with the most bar got it, but maybe that was just because he was friends with the faction leader or something. So the second election looks kind of the same, just abstain from voting. But hello, they actually did give it to me, despite that not being a very popular option. So this whole it not being democratic thing sometimes works against us, sometimes works for us. So we did get a castle. It is the worst of the two castles that were on offer there. The first castle's nestled in our own territory. This castle's kind of nestled in enemy territory, if anything. It's definitely on the front line. So not so good. However, my army to defend it is now better. And this was more spread out, so with fighting all over the place, it's less on the front line than my other ones have been, if that makes any sense. So, maybe this will be the one, the castle I can actually hold. Why don't you tune in next time to find out?